Catus Maximus here. Ran into these at a garage sale, just in a bin of tools, and dug these out. It's just 8 random sockets. They said $1. I said, why not? You know, this socket rail is probably worth $1. And I'm just realizing here, what do we see? Oddly enough, that's a Snap-on socket rail. So the socket rail is worth $1. But we're not here to talk about a Snap-on cheesy socket rail. We're here, happens to be a fractional. The most commonly used sizes, like here we are, 3/8, 5/16, 1/4 inch, is this weird socket brand called Technician. I've never heard of this brand before, and while I was looking at it, I was like, okay, Technician USA. And that, like, a name like Technician just totally sounds like a Taiwanese or even Chinese brand, but I was like blown away that these are quote-unquote American-made sockets, but they do seem pretty cheap. And what I mean by that is these have been used, but there's still quite a bit of wear. I mean, here's an example, like these old Mastercraft Pros that were from the 90s. I've literally had this set for probably 25 years. My first tool set was Mastercraft Pros, and I still have a lot of their sockets. And this 10mm socket, no, I'm somebody who actually keeps track of their tools, amazingly enough. It's not really that difficult. And if you're in a situation, you get some duplicates of cheaper ones that are the ones that you lose. This Mastercraft Pro 10mm has probably turned, it's turned hundreds of fasteners, broken and torqued. Just so many 10mm fasteners, it's crazy. No joke, and there's just hardly any rounding. These sockets have always just, the chrome's totally worn off on the inside, but there's almost no rounding. They have just performed admirably. I wish I could find some old stock of these sets, because they're some of the best budget sockets I've ever run into. And they certainly didn't have issues like this where they started rounding out. We can see that these sockets, see those sharp edges? They're not fluted, so no flank drive on these. We can also see that, oddly enough, they're a little bit short. And they do that to save on money. They're not the standard socket height. There is some standard heights. If we look at the drive side, we can see that the drive side is also not fluted. Fluting would, of course, be these little rounded undercuts on each side, just to send pressure more towards the center of the drive. And what else are we missing in there? We don't see any little undercuts, little divots for the ball detents on ratchets and extensions and other tools. So I have no idea where this brand, Technician USA, came from. I think it's kind of a hilarious name, Technician. Although it kind of makes sense, too, at the same time. But just because these say USA on them does not mean that they are some kind of great sockets. That's for sure. The only thing that's really great about this little 8-piece set is that it was $1. And it came on a Snap-on socket rail. And so I'm actually more stoked about the Snap-on socket rail than I am these 8 little cheesy sockets, which I'm going to pull off and dump into my beater junkyard toolbox. Anyway, that's my little video about these. Thanks for watching.